All right, let's talk about a skill that's becoming a legit superpower in today's world: deep work. See, in this crazy, nonstop world of distractions, being able to truly focus without interruption, that's not just a nice little skill to have anymore. It's the one thing that separates the people who are creating real value from those who are, well, easily replaced. So let's get right into it.
Does this sound familiar to you? You grind through the entire day. You're answering emails. You're hopping between a dozen different tasks. You're sitting in meeting after meeting. And by the end of it, you're totally exhausted. But then you look back and think, what did I actually get done today? If that hits home, trust me, you are not alone.
The way we work today is basically a recipe for a fractured attention span. I mean, look at this list. We've built our work environments around a constant flood of interruptions. You've got the nonstop emails, the back-to-back meetings, the chatter from the open office plan, and of course, the little pings from instant messengers. This constant state of distraction, it's the real enemy of making any meaningful progress.
And all of this brings us to what the author Cal Newport calls the tyranny of shallow, this overwhelming cultural force that's completely changing how we work, and not for the better. And here's the real kicker. It's not just you. Our entire work culture is drifting pretty rapidly toward these shallow, low-impact tasks. And it's so important to get this. This isn't some personal failing on your part. It's a systemic shift in how we think about work itself.
So why is this happening? Well, there's something called the principle of least resistance that explains it perfectly. Basically, when we don't have super clear feedback on what work is actually valuable, our brains naturally just drift toward whatever feels easiest. And you know what's always easy? Firing off a quick reply to an email. It gives you this little jolt of feeling productive, but really, it's a track.
And this mindset gets reinforced from the very top. I mean, remember when Yahoo's CEO Marissa Mayer banned working from home? The unspoken message there was loud and clear: if I can't see you being busy, I'm just going to assume you're not doing anything productive. So busyness, looking busy, becomes a substitute for actually creating value, even though it's often the very thing preventing it.
But, and this is the good news, there is an antidote. There's a way to fight back, to reclaim your focus, and to start producing work that actually matters. And that's what Newport calls the deep work superpower. Just look at this comparison. It makes the difference so clear. On one side, you have shallow work. That's where you're distracted, doing low-value stuff that anyone could do, and it just creates this illusion of being busy. But then you have deep work. That's when you're focused, you're creating high-value stuff that's hard to copy, and this is where you actually create something new and build real skill. And this definition is everything. Deep work isn't just about working hard. It's about performing professional activities in a state of distraction-free concentration that actually pushes your brain to its limits. It's a very specific and very trainable state of intense focus.
And, this isn't some brand new idea. It's a timeless principle. Just look at some of the masters. The psychologist Carl Jung literally built himself a stone tower so he could think in isolation. Woody Allen? He wrote 44 films on an old-school manual typewriter, completely free of any digital distractions. And of course, J.K. Rowling was famously a ghost on social media while she was creating the entire world of Harry Potter.
The Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman just nailed it. He said to do real good physics work, you needed absolute solid chunks of time. He even created a reputation for himself of being actively irresponsible, just so he could protect that precious time from meetings and administrative tasks. What a brilliant strategy for setting boundaries.
Okay, so this all sounds great for geniuses and world-famous authors, right? But what about for the rest of us? What's the actual tangible payoff in the real world? Well, let's look at a case study that shows how deep work can, quite literally, triple your value in the job market.
So meet Jason Ben. He started out as a financial consultant, but pretty quickly he realized that his job was kind of clunky, super manual, and could probably be automated. He felt like his skills weren't that valuable, and on top of that, he was constantly fighting the urge to get distracted by the internet. Sound familiar?
So what does he do? He makes a radical change. He quits his $40,000 a year job, and for 2 months, he does nothing but intense, focused studying of computer programming. This is pure, undiluted deep work, and it pays off. He ends up graduating at the top of his class from a developer bootcamp that's known for being incredibly tough. So what's the result of all this? Just 6 months after he started this whole journey, he gets hired as a developer at a major tech startup. And his new salary? $100,000. By mastering the ability to learn a hard new skill and learn it fast, he more than doubled his income in less than a year. Now that is the power of deep work.
So how did he do that? How does this actually work on a biological level? It's not just about willpower or having more grit. When you do this, you are literally rewiring your brain.
That's right. Every time you engage in deep work, you kick off this really powerful neurological process. You're not just building a good habit. You are physically changing the wiring inside your brain to get better at a skill. Let me show you how it works.
The whole process is called myelination. So when you focus really intensely on one thing, the specific brain circuit for that skill starts firing over and over again, all by itself. This signals certain cells in your brain to start wrapping layers of this fatty tissue called myelin around those neurons. Think of myelin like the rubber insulation on a wire. It makes the signal travel way faster and more efficiently. It literally cements the skill into your brain.
But the benefits here go way beyond just being more productive or making more money. It's really about finding a deep sense of fulfillment in the work you do.
You've probably heard of the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi and his concept of flow. He discovered that our best, most satisfying moments in life happen when we're stretching our minds to their limits, voluntarily, to do something that's both difficult and worthwhile. Well, deep work, that is the pathway to finding that state of flow in your job.
So how can you actually start doing this? Here are 3 simple but really powerful strategies. First, create a ritual. Decide exactly where you're going to work and for how long. Second, you have to schedule it. Put blocks of deep work on your calendar and treat them like the most important meeting of your day, one you absolutely cannot miss. And third, and this one's tough, you have to embrace boredom. Stop grabbing your phone every single time there's a dull moment. You've got to retrain your brain to handle a lack of stimulation. And that really brings us to the most important question of all, the one I want to leave you with. Think about your biggest goals, your most important projects, the things you really want to accomplish. What is the great work you could be doing if you weren't constantly being pulled away by all the shallow stuff? Answering that question for yourself, well, that could change everything.